There is a quiet morning I often return to in my memory. A river glides through a small valley like a silver thread stitched gently into the earth. Dawn is not fully awake yet, and a soft layer of mist floats above the surface of the water. On one smooth river stone, a single golden leaf rests, as if hesitating between holding on and letting go. The current nudges it softly. The leaf trembles, and then, without resistance, it releases itself and begins its slow drift downstream. It does not move perfectly. It spins, wobbles, bumps into tiny ripples, but it moves with truth. Because that is what life does. Life moves. And every time that leaf slips out of sight, I hear a quiet whisper rising from somewhere deep inside my chest: flow with life. Not against it. It is not a command or a rule. It is an invitation, a gentle reminder that much of our suffering does not come from what life brings, but from how tightly we cling to the way we think life should be. We do not break under the weight of reality. We break under the weight of resisting reality. If you have ever felt a tightness in your chest, a pushing or pulling inside you, a silent voice saying, "This cannot be happening," then you already know what resistance feels like. We all do. These are the moments when we swim upstream, hoping the river will reverse its course. When we want the season to change simply because we are tired of the cold. When life whispers, "Not now," and our heart demands, "Why?" That "why" is often the first arrow. The raw pain of the moment. The heartbreak. The disappointment. The loss. Life hits us. That is the first arrow. But the second arrow, the one the Buddha warned us about, is the story we add on top of the pain. This should not be happening. I must have done something wrong. I cannot accept this. Why is everyone else doing better than me? The second arrow is the one we fire into our own heart long after the first wound. And that is where the healing begins. Not by forcing the river to obey us, but by noticing how much we fight what already is. So let me ask you softly. Where in your life are you swimming upstream right now? What situation are you still trying to control, fix, or bend into your expectations? Take a slow breath in. And a slow breath out. No need to change anything yet. Just observe. Observation is the first doorway of transformation. Think of a seed buried in the ground. It does not argue with the darkness. It does not demand sunlight before its time. It simply rests, softens, cracks open from within, and the breaking is not the end. It is the beginning. Our pain is often like that soil. Heavy, pressing, confusing, but inside that pressure lives the possibility that something new is being born. The seed cannot bloom without breaking, and neither can we. When we talk about flowing with life, we are not speaking about passivity or giving up. We are talking about softening like the seed, about breathing rather than tightening, about letting the moment shape us instead of meeting it with fear. A river does not panic when it meets a boulder. It curves around it. It does not push back against the earth. It learns from the shape of the land. Over time, it smooths even stone through patience, not force. What would it feel like for you to stop pushing so hard? Deep down, many of us have been taught that safety is found in control. If we plan enough, if we anticipate every detail, if we hold life tightly enough, maybe we will not be hurt. But control is exhausting. It is like trying to hold the wind in your hands. The tighter we grip, the more life slips away. Flow begins where control ends. Flow begins the moment we whisper, "Maybe I do not need to fight everything alone." There is a teaching in Buddhism often translated as letting go. But letting go does not mean losing. It does not mean we stop caring. It simply means we stop clinging to what is not ours to control. What if, instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" you asked, "What is this moment trying to teach me?" What if, instead of seeing yourself as a victim of circumstances, you saw yourself as a learner, a traveler, a soul in motion? That simple shift changes everything. Imagine standing in a river. If you stiffen your body and push against the current, you will lose your balance. You will tire quickly. But if you soften your knees, allow yourself to sway, let the water touch you without fear, you find your footing. Resistance exhausts us. Allowing transforms us. Allowing is not weakness. Allowing is wisdom. It is the wisdom of bamboo surviving storms by bending. The wisdom of clouds drifting across the sky without clinging to any shape. The wisdom of butterflies transforming only by surrendering to stillness. Let me ask you another gentle question. What fear lives underneath your need to control? What story are you telling yourself when life refuses to follow your script? When we see fear clearly, without judgment, it loosens. This is mindfulness, not a technique but a warm presence. Mindfulness is holding your own heart the way you would hold a trembling bird, with tenderness, patience, and no demand that it fly before it is ready. Slowly, something begins to change inside you. A knot begins to soften. Your breath deepens. Your chest loosens. Your mind becomes more open. Your heart unclenches. And like the leaf drifting on the river, you begin to understand. Maybe life is not trying to drown you. Maybe life is trying to carry you somewhere new. If you are still here, listening with an open breath and a soft heart, then you are already flowing more than you realize. If these words touch something inside you, I invite you to stay with the journey. Please consider staying until the end of this story and supporting this channel. Your presence helps these healing messages continue. We all have a river inside us. We all have a current waiting to guide us home. When you are ready, we will move deeper into the lessons, the shifts, and the quiet liberation that comes when you begin to flow with life, not against it. There is a moment in every life when the river inside us begins to rise. Maybe it starts with a change we did not ask for, a loss that came too soon, a door that closed without warning, or a chapter that ended long before we felt ready. The rise begins quietly, like a trembling beneath the surface. Then suddenly, everything feels louder, faster, heavier, as if life has shifted its rhythm and we cannot catch our breath. In moments like these, the natural impulse is to brace ourselves, to tighten, to resist. We become like a tree that fears the wind, stiffening its branches in an attempt to stay untouched. But the wind does not stop for our fear, and resistance only makes us more likely to break. There is a teaching in Buddhist psychology that speaks directly to this. It says that life is made of waves, and each wave carries two elements, the event itself, and the story we create about the event. The first element is the experience. The second is our interpretation. Pain comes from the first. Suffering comes from the second. To flow with life, not against it, we must learn to see both clearly. Imagine someone you love suddenly walks away, or a job you needed disappears, or life tells you no in a place where your whole heart was waiting for a yes. The first wave crashes. You feel the sting, the loss, the disappointment. This is natural. This is human. But then the second wave comes. And it often sounds like this. I am not enough. Things never work out for me. I should have known better. I will always be alone. Life is unfair. This second wave is the one that drags us under. And the deepest healing begins the moment we learn to separate the waves. Let me ask you gently. What second wave has been crashing inside you lately? What story have you been repeating to yourself without even realizing it? Take your time. Let the question settle in your body, not just your mind. Now imagine placing that story in your open palm. No judgment, no shame, just seeing it, witnessing it, acknowledging the truth of your experience. Something softens the moment you do this. Awareness is the warm hand that calms the frightened heart. One of the most transformative shifts we can make is to move from asking "Why is this happening to me?" to asking "What can this teach me?" The first question freezes us. The second frees us. The first question makes us the victim of the moment. The second makes us the learner of the moment. This is one of the most powerful aspects of flowing with life. You do not have to like what is happening. You do not have to approve of it. You do not have to pretend it does not hurt. But you can choose how you meet it. You can choose whether you collapse or awaken. There is a story of a monk who once said, "The river does not apologize for its direction, and the mountain does not complain about its height. They simply are. And because they are at peace." To flow with life is to say, "This is what is here. How can I meet it with clarity instead of fear?" There is a woman I once knew who carried years of resentment because her childhood was full of chaos. She felt life had stolen something from her. She held on to that story like a shield, hoping it would protect her from future hurt. But the shield only weighed her down. It kept her from receiving the goodness that was trying to reach her. One day she told me something that changed her life. She said, "I finally realized that life did not happen to me. It happened for me. Not as a punishment, not as a test, but as preparation. Without the chaos, I would not have learned grace. Without the loss, I would not have learned compassion. Without the darkness, I would not have learned to become my own light." That is what flowing with life looks like. Not blind acceptance, not forced positivity, but the understanding that every season has a purpose, even if we cannot see it yet. Let me ask you this. What in your life might be preparing you for something you cannot yet imagine? What pain might be shaping a new strength within you? What ending might be the quiet beginning of a new becoming? Sometimes the most powerful transformation happens in the invisible spaces. In the nights you cry alone. In the mornings you rise even though your heart is tired. In the choices you make to stay kind in a world that sometimes forgets kindness. These invisible acts shape you more deeply than any outward achievement. You see, flowing with life does not mean drifting without intention. It means meeting life with presence. It means listening, adjusting, centering, returning. It means remembering who you are even when life becomes loud. Think of the sky. Clouds move across it all day long. Storms come, sunlight fades, winds shift, but the sky itself remains untouched. Open, spacious. You are the sky. Your thoughts and emotions are the clouds. Flowing with life means remembering the sky as who you are, not the clouds that pass through you. In Buddhist thought, this is the practice of non-attachment, not detachment, not coldness. Non-attachment simply means you let things pass without letting them define you. You allow life to move without making every shift a personal failure. You let the river be a river. And something beautiful happens when we live this way. Life becomes softer, not easier, but softer. Because softness is strength, softness is flexibility, softness is the willingness to bend instead of break. A butterfly does not fight its transformation. A flame does not resist the wind. A tree does not cling to its dying leaves. They let what must fall, and in that release, they become more fully themselves. So let me ask another gentle question. What is one thing you are holding on to that is asking to be released? A belief? A memory? A version of yourself you have outgrown? Place it in front of you like a small stone. Look at it with honesty. And ask yourself, does holding this make me lighter or heavier? Does it help me flow or hold me back? Your heart already knows the answer. And if something inside you feels a tiny shift, a softening, a breath of relief, let that be your guide. You do not have to release anything all at once. You can release one breath at a time. By listening to this story, by opening your mind and heart even for a moment, you are already practicing the art of flowing with life. And if these words resonate with you, I invite you gently, please stay with this journey. And consider supporting this channel. Your presence helps keep these healing stories alive. When you are ready, we will move into the deeper waters, where transformation becomes not just insight but lived experience. There comes a moment in every journey when insight is no longer enough. A moment when knowing is not the same as transforming. When understanding the river does not yet help us step into it. When the heart whispers, I understand the lesson, but I am still afraid. This is the threshold. the quiet doorway between awareness and change. Many people stand at this doorway for years. Not because they are weak, but because stepping through requires something tender and brave: the willingness to feel fully. To be present with what hurts instead of running from it. To allow the waves to touch the shore of your heart. Imagine you are standing on a beach at dusk. The sky is beginning to dim. The tide is rising. And a wave, shaped by everything you have tried to avoid, inches closer to your feet. At that moment you have two choices: brace yourself or breathe. Resist or receive. Harden or soften. Most of us brace without realizing it. We tighten our shoulders. We clench our jaw. We hold our breath. We build a wall inside ourselves, believing the wall will protect us. But walls do not protect the heart. They isolate it. Walls turn us into our own prisoners. Flow asks something different. Flow asks us to step closer to the water. Not to drown in it. Not to force ourselves into suffering. But to feel the truth of the moment with honesty. Because you cannot heal what you refuse to feel. And you cannot flow with life while fighting every wave that rises inside you. So let me ask you softly. What emotion have you been avoiding? What feeling have you pushed away because you believed it was too heavy or too messy? Sadness? Anger? Loneliness? Shame? Fear? Name it gently. Do not judge it. Just name it. Now imagine that emotion as a small child standing on your doorstep. Drenched in rain, knocking softly. It does not want to destroy your home. It just wants to be let in. It wants to be seen. To be held. To be understood. This is what flowing with life means. Allowing the child at the door to be acknowledged. Even if you are not ready to invite them all the way in. It means you stop pretending the knocking is not happening. Pain becomes heavier when it is ignored. Pain becomes lighter when it is witnessed. There is a principle in mindfulness known as compassionate awareness. It means we turn toward our experience with the same warmth we would offer a friend. It means we sit beside our pain, not inside it. It means we learn to say, "I see you. I hear you. I am here." This is not indulgence. This is medicine. Because when we give our emotions space to breathe, they shift, they change shape, they soften. Like clouds drifting across a wide sky. They pass through instead of settling in. You are not your sadness. You are the sky that holds the sadness. You are not your fear. You are the awareness that sees the fear. You are not your past. You are the consciousness in which the past arises and dissolves. When you remember this, something profound happens. You stop clinging to each thought as if it defines you. You stop believing every emotion is a command. You stop resisting every shift in the wind. And slowly, you begin to feel a widening inside you. Like the horizon stretching open. In that widening, intuition speaks more clearly. The heart breathes more freely. Life becomes less like a battlefield and more like a conversation. Consider a person who has carried guilt for years, believing they should have been better, stronger, more perfect. They fight their past like a warrior trapped in an unwinnable war. But the moment they turn toward the guilt with compassion, the battle loses its meaning. They see that guilt was never an enemy. It was a messenger saying, "Please learn from me. Please grow from me. Please release me." Or consider someone who fears abandonment. They cling tightly to relationships, trying to control everything so they will not be left behind. But the tighter they hold, the more the relationship suffocates. When they finally sit with the fear itself, they discover it came from an old story written long ago. A story that is asking to be rewritten, not repeated. Flowing with life means rewriting these inner stories. Not by force, but through understanding. Here is a question to help you go deeper. What story from your past are you still living inside today? And what new story is asking to be born? You do not need the full answer yet. Even a whisper is enough. Flow is not a leap. Flow is a shift. A tilt. A soft turning toward truth. It is like a flower opening one petal at a time. not rushing its blooming. It knows that forcing its petals open would tear them. So it opens at the pace of sunlight, at the pace of trust. You, too, can open at your own pace. And in this gentle opening, you begin to see the deeper truth. Life is not against you. Life is not trying to break you. Life is trying to move you, to awaken you, to invite you into a larger expression of who you are becoming. Life is always shaping us, the way the river shapes the land, not by violence, but by consistency, by presence, by the endless invitation to let go of what we are not. So let me ask you something important. What part of you has been asking to be released? The perfectionist? The pleaser? The version of you that carries everyone else? The version that hides to stay safe? Release does not mean abandoning yourself. It means returning to yourself. It means dropping the heavy identities you never needed. Think of a flame. It dances freely because it does not cling to the shape it held a moment ago. It allows itself to change constantly. Its beauty comes from its fluidity. The same is true for you. If a flame resisted the wind, it would die. If a butterfly resisted the cocoon, it would never fly. If the ocean resisted the moon, it would lose its rhythm. Every part of nature flows. And you are part of nature. Flowing with life means remembering your belonging to the larger whole. It means trusting that even when the path is unclear, the movement is meaningful. It means knowing that your life is not a series of mistakes but a series of openings. If you feel a softening inside you as you read this, if even one tight place in your chest loosens a little, then you are already stepping into the river. And as you continue, I invite you once again, please stay with this journey and consider supporting this channel if these words bring you comfort. Your presence keeps these healing stories alive. When you are ready, we will move into the final stage of transformation, where insight becomes freedom and acceptance becomes peace. There is a quiet turning point in every inner journey, a moment when the struggle begins to loosen, not because life becomes easier, but because you become clearer, softer, more spacious inside, a moment when your breath moves more freely, and your heart feels less like a clenched fist and more like an open palm. This is the moment when flow begins to feel real. Not as an idea, not as a theory, but as a lived experience. It often arrives subtly, like the way morning light fills a room without making a sound. You wake up one day, look at your reflection, and something is different. You are still you, still imperfect, still learning, still growing, but the sharp edges inside you have softened. The heavy stories have loosened their grip. Life feels less like a fight and more like a conversation. And that is the heart of flowing with life. Not against it. But before we reach the final reflection, we must explore one last landscape, the landscape of acceptance. Acceptance is often misunderstood. Many think it means giving up, or allowing people to mistreat us, or pretending we are fine when we are not. But true acceptance is not surrendering to defeat. True acceptance is surrendering to reality. Acceptance does not say, I agree with what happened. Acceptance says, I acknowledge that it happened. Acceptance does not say, I am powerless. Acceptance says, I will use my power wisely. Acceptance does not say, nothing can change. Acceptance says, this is where change begins. Imagine a person trapped in a storm. Rain pours down, harsh and cold. Wind lashes against their skin. If they refuse reality, if they stand there shouting, this should not be happening, they do not stop the storm. They only prolong their own suffering. But if they accept the storm, they can make a new choice. They can look for shelter. They can protect themselves. They can move with the wind instead of fighting it. Acceptance opens the doorway to action. Acceptance is the bridge between pain and peace. Ask yourself gently, what would acceptance look like in your life right now? What would it feel like to stop fighting what has already happened? What might open if you released the resistance you have carried for so long? Acceptance is not a single moment. It is a practice. a returning, a remembering. It is the soft voice inside you that whispers, "Let this be the ground from which you rise." And rising is exactly what flow invites you to do. Rise like a seed breaking through the soil. Rise like a butterfly unfolding from its cocoon. Rise like a wave returning to the shore. Rise like dawn after the longest night. There is a story of a man who spent decades trying to control every detail of his life. He feared uncertainty, so he gripped everything tightly: relationships, plans, outcomes, even his own emotions. He believed that if he could control enough things, he could avoid pain. But life does not bow to fear. Life bows only to truth. Eventually, something in him cracked. He lost what he feared losing most. And in that collapse, something unexpected happened. He realized that the collapse did not destroy him. In fact, it revealed him. Without the constant tension of control, he discovered spaciousness inside himself, a tenderness, a freedom. He told me once, "I finally understood that life was not asking me to hold on tighter. Life was asking me to let go." And that is the essence of flowing with life, not against it. It is not a passive drift. It is an active trust. Trust that every season has its purpose. Trust that every ending carries a seed of beginning. Trust that your heart knows how to return to itself. Trust that you are being shaped, not shattered. Let me ask you one more question, perhaps the most important of all. If you stopped resisting for just one moment, what might you feel underneath the struggle? You might feel sadness softening. You might feel fear loosening. You might feel an unexpected tenderness. You might feel your own presence, spacious and kind. You might feel the beginning of peace. Because peace does not arrive when life becomes perfect. Peace arrives when we no longer demand perfection from life. Peace is not a destination. Peace is a posture. It is the way you sit with your experience. The way you breathe through uncertainty. The way you offer compassion to yourself when you stumble. The way you return, again and again, to presence. Imagine your heart as a vast sky. Thoughts are clouds. Emotions are weather. Experiences are passing storms. But the sky remains, open and untouched. Flowing with life means remembering that you are the sky, not the storm. When you understand this, even briefly, everything changes. You become less reactive, more calm, more centered, more yourself. Flow with life, not against it. Because resistance is the root of suffering, and surrender is the root of freedom. So here, at the end of this journey, let us return to that leaf on the river, the one that trembled, then released itself. It did not know where the river would take it. It did not know how long the journey would be. It simply trusted that the movement of life was wiser than its fear. You are that leaf. You are that river. You are that movement. Your life is not a mistake. Your path is not random. Your becoming is not accidental. And if you have listened this far, if you have breathed with these words, if you have felt even one softening inside, then you are already flowing in a new way. You are learning to ask not "Why is this happening?" but "What is this moment teaching me?" You are learning to shift from victim to learner. You are learning to exchange resistance for connection. You are learning to trust the quiet intelligence of life. Before we close, I offer you this final reflection. May you meet yourself with kindness. May you greet each moment with presence. May you trust the wisdom of your own unfolding. May you remember that peace is always one breath away. And if this journey has touched your heart, I invite you gently. Please consider supporting this channel so these healing stories can continue. Your presence truly matters. Thank you for walking this path with me. May you flow with life, not against it.